Hi folks, welcome to the Blue Bombers post-game report. I'm sports editor Steve Lyons, this football reporter Jeff Hamilton. Jeff, we just watched the Bombers win their 7th game in a row. They beat the Toronto Argonauts 46-29. Is that correct? Yeah. Yep. And there had been some questions, Jeff, about the Bombers offense in a high-scoring game. Would they be able to respond? You know, they've been winning it kind of grinding it out. Today they did that.
Today I think that they did do that. I mean, it took them a little bit after that first half. It was really an explosion from the Bombers in the second half. 3 touchdown drives. Matt Nichols seemed to really ignite this offense. He only threw for one of them, but he marched them down the field. And like you said, there's been, as a 7th victory, there's been 6 different types of victories for this team within that stretch. But this was the real first one that had a shootout kind of feel to it, where it was back and forth, felt like a college game, even with the time 1 p.m. start and all. But really an impressive showing from Matt Nichols. Like I said, it did take a while, but I think they did answer those questions. But it will be a real test next week against Calgary.
Interesting. You know, we're making a big deal, or maybe the media is making a big deal, or the fans, or whatever, that they've won 7 games in a row. The team doesn't seem to want to talk about that too much. Prior to the game started, I bumped into Bombers president Wade Miller, and I said, "Nice streak you're on." And he said, "We're not on a streak. We've got a bunch of wins in the bank." Just in the post-game press conference now, we asked Mike O'Shea about the streak again and about momentum going into the game next Saturday against Calgary. And again, he kind of downplays the whole momentum thing, talked about in-game momentum, but that it's just the game. Interesting.
It is interesting, but at the same time, this team did have a slow start at 1-4. Now they're 8-4, 7 victories, but they still feel they have tons to prove. They still don't feel, which I think is maybe some of the best attributes of this team, is they don't feel that they've hit to where they need to be, at least to compete in this year against a great team against Calgary next week. But at the same time, they've also know that they're not being respected in the league. So they can't go out there and gloat and claim that they're the best until they truly feel that. And I really do feel it's leading up to this game next week where I think you'll see that change. Here they're reserved. They know there's that heavy hitters in the Stampeders that if they can beat them, I think you'll start to see that narrative change on this team. Not necessarily the game-by-game basis, that will always stay, but I think you'll hear some interesting sound bites from the players in the dressing room.
Okay, so now they're heading into the final third of the season, and as you mentioned, next Saturday they play in Calgary against the Stampeders. They follow that at home against the Edmonton Eskimos, and then they end the season with 2 back-to-backs. First the BC Lions, who they're battling for second place right now, and then a back-to-back to finish the season against the Red Blacks. So they're hitting the end of the season. They're hitting the final third of the season, despite what Mike O'Shea might say, with some momentum.
Absolutely. I mean, he'll play that momentum card within a game, but he won't play it in a series. But they are. I mean, they're one of the hottest teams in this league right now, and that's obviously from their ability to stretch out wins. This team, I don't think we've seen the ceiling. The biggest challenge, though, I do think is in this third. Let's face it, the 7 victories, although they've been impressive, 2 of them have come against a Riders team that's been in the basement. 2 of them have come from an Argonauts team that's still not at 500. It's now this final stretch. We all know that although Edmonton hasn't been able to get it done this season, they did win the Grey Cup last year. They know what it takes to go down the final stretch. As we've been talking about in Calgary in this video, they're the heavy hitters. BC, they're chasing. They don't seem to be wanting to give up any ground in that West Division race. And of course, Ottawa, a team that made the finals and probably enters this year with some unfinished business as a theme. So certainly a great stretch for the Bombers, but I think we'll really start seeing the true team in this final third.
Yeah, we'll see what they really are for sure down the stretch. Okay, so once again, folks, the Bombers beat the Argos today here at Investors Group Field, 46-29. Their 7th win in a row. They play next Saturday at McMahon Stadium, and Jeff will be there to have all the details for you.